Yeah, I know, I'm late to this discussion, and I know that there are a bunch of games coming out, but I just wanted to talk about this game. I finally grew the balls to buy one of these games at the beginning of this year when I decided to get the game Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. And man, was it fun. Despite how well made Sekiro was, I heard that it wasn't the best game that came from this developer, From Software. I had heard that Bloodborne was better than Sekiro, so I decided that since I had so much experience with Sekiro, I was therefore ready to take on Bloodborne. And man, was I wrong. Playing Sekiro could not have prepared me for what Bloodborne had in store for me. It has been a long time since any form of media has scared me like this. What am I talking about? Well then, allow me to explain the secret horror of Bloodborne. Bloodborne starts out by some guy in a wheelchair making a blood contract. The character you have customized to your liking then wakes up and jumps off the operating table and sets out into the catastrophe known as Yharnam. The entire setting of Yharnam is just creepy. There are giant steeples that poke the sky, dingy streets covered in muck and monsters, sewers occupied with sluggish creatures and boars, and huge angry mobs of insane villagers who want nothing more than to kill the player on the spot. Almost everything in Yharnam has mutated into disgusting beasts like sewer people, crazy civilians, trolls who clobber you with bricks, and the most grotesque werewolves, a beastly scourge as it is called. That and the intrinsic and intuitive level design can really get into the minds of players. I was once traveling through the area known as Old Yharnam, fighting screeching monsters with cloaks over their heads, and it was super challenging. After cleaning the room of these disgusting creatures, I heard some sort of licking sound. I said to myself, "Some huge monster is feasting!" And then I ran across the entire area trying to find this giant monster, only for me to realize that it was my German Shepherd behind me making sound effects. This game got under my skin, but I was still able to keep it together. How? Well, I was able to remember where everything was and what they would do. There's this one troll down this pathway, the sewers are infested with mutants. Man, it would be awesome if they were Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Dogs are all over this one alley, and the cleric beast is at the end of this bridge. Of course, this didn't make the game any easier, but I was still able to deal with all the outrageous enemies around every corner that are trying to kill me. And I was navigating the mad landscape of Yharnam pretty well, if I do say so myself. Eventually, I made my way to the fight with Father Gascoigne, and subsequently killed the ugly axe murderer turned werewolf thing. This gave me access to a new area of the game called the Cathedral Ward. I also found a place called Odin Chapel, a safe haven for the sane survivors you find during your travels. I quickly told the only sane NPC I knew around the area, and as it turned out, she was a massive jerk.
This whole mess that Yharnam's in, it's all your fault. You put it to outsiders.
I quickly memorized the two paths that laid before me. One is through the main doors that leads to some big oaf with a jacket and a walking stick, and there were some crows on the ground level next to the stairs, and there were 3 more crows around the corner. At the top of the stairs, there were 2 more church servants and a locked gate. Down the other path, there was a circular square with 2 church servants and a path to the area that was once Old Yharnam. So I decided to see what was going on in Old Yharnam. What once was a city that Yharnamites lived in, it was the first place to be infected by the beastly scourge and has long been abandoned and now is home to only beasts. Now, as I have established before, my German Shepherd scared me in this area along with all the other beasts, including the blood-starved beast, who was a giant thorn in my side because of his outrageous poison cloud. Now then, these games are infamous for being challenging, so any cheese tactics are kind of encouraged, especially when you are making a YouTube video and need to capture footage. So I just brought Alfred along to help me out. Despite the poisonous headache, we pushed through and showed that ugly beast who the real boss is. And that would be me and Alfred. And then I died from poison. Unfortunately, this was where the problems started to appear. I returned to Odin Chapel, ready to take on the rest of the Cathedral Ward. Now I just needed to pick between the 3 paths that laid before me. Wait, 3 paths? The last time I was here, there were only 2 paths. As it turned out, this door that had been locked shut had opened after I killed the blood-starved beast. It led me to the church workshop and the Radiant Sword Hunter badge, which gave me access to Ludwig's Holy Blade. I wanted to test out this symbol of unrivaled power, so I decided to run outside and test this on the enemies outside Odin Chapel. Die, you stupid crow! Oh wait, there are 3 more right behind this corner. I'll just go over there and... Who are you? The crows were gone and had been replaced by this tall, black-hooded figure with a skinny frame, pasty skin, and a giant sack flung over its shoulder. It was an enemy called a Snatcher, and he was walking towards me. I tried fighting him, but these Snatchers hit hard. After my futile attempts to fight this thing, it killed me. And then he kidnapped me. He stuffed me into his sack he had flung over his shoulder and took me away to a place called the Hypogean Jail. Yeah, I found a lamp that took me back to the hunter's dream, but I was still shaken up from this. I had no idea this could happen. No, it wasn't the fact I was kidnapped, but I had no idea that the enemy placement of all things could change like that. As stated before, I had been keeping things together by anticipating where enemies would be. Venturing out into a new area had always been scary for me, but after I ran through the area once before, I had a pretty good idea about how to deal with the dangers around me. However, this had challenged all ways I had dealt with Yharnam. It wasn't the same as it was before, and it felt like I was going through a new area at every point in the game. I was far from safe. Instead, it started to dawn on me that this game would use every dirty trick it could to kill me at every turn, and that every step I would take would continually send me into unknown danger. And I was unfortunately correct. I shortly encountered a boss known as Vicar Amelia, and after I killed Vicar Amelia, the world changed again. The giant enemies that once trudged the streets now weren't. The giants with outrageously large axes were now asleep, and the NPCs I encountered weren't helping with my anxiety. The old woman I had invited to Odin Chapel suddenly was wailing in hysteria. This one person who I met in Hamrick Charnel Lane was no longer saying this.
Do you hear the graveyard murmurs? Then it's almost time. Oh, I can't wait. I just can't wait.
But instead, they were making sounds like beasts or zombies. Not even the doll was staying consistent. She wasn't even staying in the same spot, and the first time she moved, I wondered if I had lost my ability to level up. Everything around me was descending into madness, and the constantly changing NPCs and enemy placement made me paranoid about what could be lurking around any corner. Oh, and the insight mechanics were not helping with this either. Insight is acquired by finding and killing bosses, discovering disturbing stuff, consuming items, and a whole bunch of other ways. But at around 15 insight, the world changes even more. The church doctors, or servants depending on what you call them, will gain a level up by shooting arcane blasts at you and lighting their weapons on fire that inflict frenzy. Tall, crazy mad ones will sprout from the ground in Hamrick Charnel Lane and start cutting you to shreds. I continue to hold in there until the entrance to the Forbidden Woods, where you need to speak the secret adage to progress through the area. The man behind the door asked for the password, so I recited, "Fear the old blood," and the door opened to a corpse who had been dead for a long time. At this point, I surrendered myself to the chaos. There was no way that I could account for all the crazy crap going on in this game on my first playthrough. And I just surrendered myself to the notion that this world would continually change and I would just have to deal with all the crap. Despite all this, I pushed on to the wretched Blood Moon phase of the game, and everything just went tits up. That one Snatcher who first killed me and kidnapped me is just gone, everyone has descended into madness, and that one area that was called the Hypogean Jail turned out to be Yahar'gul, the unseen village. The Blood Moon phase turned this place into a village of death. And it doesn't look like the Snatchers knew what was going on, since their corpses are now plastered on the walls. I have now pushed through all the nightmare fuel and defeated whatever the heck this fleshy thing is, and arrived at the Nightmare of Mensis. I also stand at the precipice of the Old Hunters DLC. Okay, maybe not precipice. I have beaten Ludwig, and Lady Maria is turning me into Swiss cheese. So, as I stand here, preparing to push forward, I can't help but wonder what this game still holds in store for me. What horrific monsters will these nightmares present me? What challenges still await me? And what unexpected changes will this game present me? And what about you? What scared you when you first ran through this game? Or did you look everything up on a wiki or online walkthrough? I would love to hear what you have to say in the comments below. Also, before you leave, please like and share this video with other fellow hunters, noob hunters, challenge hunters, vermin crushers, vile bloods, and good bloods. Also, please consider subscribing to my channel. As if that's gonna happen. Anyways, have a good hunt tonight, and bye. I'm gonna go get my face kicked in by the Old Hunters DLC.